Hello and welcome to the show today. We have one of my fellow Canadians, a brilliant woman, Debbie Peck, with us today. And Debbie runs her digital agency from her laptop as she travels the world. Yes, for real. I know this is for real because I know Debbie very well. She has been traveling full-time for almost 2 years with no fixed address. Debbie decided she would like to live a freedom lifestyle and has discovered that freedom is much more than just traveling. I love that. She now teaches others how to find their own freedom lifestyle through her Facebook group, Freedom Navigators. Through her company, Debbie Peck Digital, Debbie teaches and inspires people to utilize digital marketing to not only build strong companies, but to create a better world. As an online marketing strategist, her mission is to help people get their message out so they can connect with people around the world. Debbie is also a certified social media manager and a Facebook ads specialist. And with that, welcome, Debbie.
Thank you. That's so exciting to be here. I'm really happy to talk more about living a freedom lifestyle.
Wonderful. Let's do that. Absolutely. And certainly later in the show, we'll let the listeners have the information on how to get in touch with you. But yeah, tell me more about this. I think I have a heads up because I've been watching you and following you on Facebook with your new Freedom Navigators page, which is fabulous. So tell us more about that. Tell us about how you live, because I'm always envious of where you are in the world.
Well, it started out where I actually achieved a really huge dream of mine, and that was having an ocean view property. And I remember the day that I moved into this. It was absolutely gorgeous, and I just couldn't even believe it. I had to pinch myself. And I had worked so hard my whole life to achieve this dream. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying to my friend, I'm never leaving this place. It's so gorgeous. But after a year, just a short year, I couldn't wait to leave. And I was like, what's happening? Why am I so discontented? It wasn't that I was unhappy necessarily. I was happy. My business was going great. I had lots of friends. Everything was great in my life, but I was bored. I was absolutely bored. And I thought, what do I need to do to reignite my life? I mean, one of the problems is when you work from home, as I do, you're seeing the same things every day, day in and day out. And because I had this beautiful ocean view, I was compelled to never leave it.
Yes.
So the problem is that I started to get bored being in the same place all the time. And so I knew that I needed to do something different. And so I although my business was doing well, one of the things that people often have this idea that I wanted to travel, but people have this idea that in order to travel, it's like 5-star luxury resort all the way. And that's just not the case. There's lots of ways that you can travel, but not necessarily be, in a 5-star resort. I mean, that would be lovely, but
yes,
let's face it, how realistic is that for most of us?
Right.
And I found a way that I could travel, but not have to, pay those kinds of prices. And one of the ways that I do it is through house sitting. So I started, I had done some house sitting just for friends and family and things like that over the years. And so I thought, there must be a way to do this. And so I started doing some research and I found a couple of websites and created profiles and found out that you can really house sit all around the world. And so that's what I started doing. And so it's taken me all over. I spent a month in Mexico. I spent a month in Europe, all over the United States. I've, different places of Canada. I'm in Canada right now, but have plans to travel quite a bit next year as well. And so it's been a really great experience because one of the things I discovered about house sitting is that you're not necessarily in a resort area. You're in a neighborhood, just like the locals would live. So you're really living like a local. And what's happened is that I started off trying to save money on the one hand, but on the other hand, I enjoyed it so much that even though I can afford to maybe stay in different, like hotels and things like that, it's kind of boring sitting in a hotel room all by yourself.
Right.
So the house sitting, I generally have pets and things like that to take care of. You meet the neighbors and whatnot. And I've had some lovely interactions with people, all over the world. So it's been so much fun. I reignited just everything in my life, being able to, meet people and go to places I never would have thought to go to, because even in France, where I house sat there, I landed in Paris, and people always think, "Ooh, Paris, you got to go to Paris." And actually, I loved the countryside where I was house sitting much more than I enjoyed Paris. So
Beautiful. Yes, I lived in Paris for 3 years, and I love the south of France and the countryside. Beautiful. I
exactly,
remember when you were in that house.
yeah,
Gorgeous.
yeah. I was in a little tiny village called Lignol, and it's just, I'd never heard of it before, but it was just lovely driving across the countryside and
Yes.
experiencing these kinds of things.
Yes.
So that was my initial reasons for doing what I did. And when I did it, I started out doing it for 6 months. I thought, well, I'll try it out
Mhm.
and see how it goes. I really had no idea if I was going to be able to keep my business going.
Mhm.
How are my clients going to react? What about the time zone change differences and
Mhm.
things like that? I mean, it's not like I can carry a printer on the road and different equipment and things like that. So I had to get creative, and thankfully I already had friends that were doing this. And
Mhm.
so I reached out and, talked to them about different aspects of how they do it,
Mhm.
and got some tips and tricks and things like that. So in reality, my business has changed quite a bit over the couple of years that I've been doing this. But I think for the better. I've kind of released some of the things that I was doing that probably wasn't serving me as well, and
Mhm.
started new initiatives that actually I'm much more passionate about. And one of those things is I'm going to be releasing a course on how to live your own freedom lifestyle. And one of the
Wonderful.
things that I did was I started interviewing people who wanted to try this type of lifestyle, but didn't really know how to get started.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing is people say to me all the time, "Oh, you live such a cool lifestyle. I wish I could do that."
Mhm.
Well, first of all, why can't you?
Yeah.
Second of all, it's actually not appropriate for everybody. Not everybody wants to live full time on the road. It's
Mhm.
actually a lot of work. People don't think about the logistics of travel and working and the different things like that. If you're
Mhm.
actually still working and not retired or on permanent vacation, there's
Right.
some logistics involved. So, but one of the things that I realized was that there are gazillions of ways that my freedom is not the same as your freedom.
Mhm.
Everybody has a different idea of what freedom means to them. And
Mhm.
every one of those answers is the correct answer. Whatever freedom means to you is the right answer. And so, what I'm doing is helping people discover what freedom means to them. Most times that does involve some travel, but not for everybody, and
Mhm.
not full time for
Mhm.
everybody. So some people want to live full time on the road, but some people, like us Canadians, where it gets a little chilly in the winter, they
Yeah.
want to just go for 3 months or 6 months when it's really cold, to Florida or Arizona or places like that, to
Mhm.
escape the harsh weather. But for others, they're content to just be able to take 2 or 3 vacations a year somewhere,
Mhm.
and not have to work while they're on the road. And
Mhm.
they don't right now see how they can accomplish that through finances or responsibilities at home or work or things like that. And so what I want to do is show people how they can do this. And the interesting thing when I interviewed all of these people was that every single one of them was so close to being able to do what they wanted to do, to live the lifestyle that they wanted to live, with very minor tweaks, but
Mhm.
they didn't see it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I found that quite interesting, and I really want to be able to help people see that they can actually do things like this sooner than they thought they could do. Don't wait until you're retired to be able to take that trip, or create something in your life that you want to create. do it now. And there are always ways to do that.
Right. I mean, I love the way that you've structured it for yourself where, I know you and I have even met up on the road at events, where you just happen to be house sitting as well. And then
Yes.
you take some time off, you go and visit friends, you, take some vacation time in between. And so you're not just going from house sitting job to house sitting job to house sitting job while running your digital business as well.
Right.
I love the mix that you've got. So tell us more about, I guess, if you think about, I had this waterfront property and it seemingly was everything I wanted, my dream home, you might say. And now here I am, essentially living out of a suitcase with my laptop, running my life and enjoying my life more than ever. So tell us what did you have to go through to sort of get yourself here?
Well, interestingly, one of the things that a friend said to me, she said, there are other ocean views around the world.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, of course there are. And I've now seen some amazing ones, of course. But I really had to dig deep and figure out why I was I felt really unfulfilled. And one of the things Brendan Burchard often talks about in his books and teachings is that it's due to boredom. It's not that you're unhappy. Like I certainly wasn't unhappy by any stretch in most areas of my life. I'm a pretty happy person, but there was something missing for me. There was definitely something missing. And when I was reading some different books and going through some different programs and stuff, and that was one of the things. I was actually bored. I needed to do something to spark my life, to reignite some passion. And one of the things that I've really been passionate about is showing other people how they can, do these kinds of things in their life. They don't have to. One of the things that I hear quite often is, well, I don't have the money. Or I don't have the time, or my kids are still at home. I have a house that I have to take care of. Every one of those things is really just you just have to, it's all figure outable, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a way to counteract that. For me, I thought about, well, where am I going to put all my stuff? Should I give up my Ocean View apartment and just go off for a few months and maybe, try it out and come back? And I made the decision to go all in. I just decided I love this place, but I'm going to commit. I'm just going to go all in. I'm not going to dip my toe in. And I think once you commit to something, magical things start to happen. Things open up to you that wouldn't necessarily open up, otherwise. And I think that's
how the universe really works, right? When you actually start taking some action steps, all these other steps fall into place, and before you know it, you're moving in a direction faster than you ever thought possible, right? That's sort of how it happened for you.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, it does. And opportunities have opened up to me that I'm actually, it's almost like a surprise sometimes, things that have come up to, and I'm like, oh, cool, or it's funny because the more I just, quote, let it happen, the better things get. And a good friend of mine, I was talking to him one time about this, who's got a very, very successful life, business and all that. And I've said to him, what do you attribute to your success? And he actually told me that. He said, the more I just let go, things just come my way. And at first I was confused by that, but the more that I've done it, the more I realize, oh, that's actually true. So, when you just go for it and, just let it be, that I just know that things are going to work out now, and they do.
Exactly. Going from, what our Brendan would call the comfortable life, right?
Yes.
Where, but I think sometimes we don't think about how hard we work to keep ourselves in that comfortable life, in that unfulfilled, life is pretty good, but it's just comfortable. What if there's more? It's what I love to say to people when speaking about coaching, would coaching be right for you? Well, my life's pretty great. I go, yeah, but what if that's just the floor? Like, what if there's more for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if there was more. Like, yeah, your life is great, but what if there's more? And just to be curious about, you know, even just thinking about what else there could be for you. You know, as you were talking about living in that, you know, ocean view, you know, I've been lucky. I've mostly lived on the ocean almost my whole life. And I lived in Dubai. Like, imagine living in Dubai in a $12 million home.
Yeah,
like, I'll never live like that again. And I don't care to live like that again. Here we are now in Kelowna, Canada, building this crazy house on the lake, which most people of our age, in our 50s, are actually downsizing. Here we are building this home, and really in the last 2 years, because it's so many delays and everything, I just keep thinking to myself, what are we doing? You know, and I have been lucky. I've traveled to 71 countries, and I love travel, and we will certainly still do that. But, you know, this idea of the freedom lifestyle of, you know, maybe it isn't that you don't sell your house and you maybe rent it for a year. I know people that have done that with boats. You know, they've bought a yacht and committed to 2 years traveling the world. And so that could be another option, right? I mean, there's many different ways to go about seeking freedom.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for people that own a house, definitely, you know, like it's a consideration whether you want to sell or not, but it's not a necessity. Yeah, you can rent it out, you can Airbnb it. There's lots of options.
Right.
I think that's the point, is that there are options. And for me, I didn't feel that I could go backwards. Like, that's why I didn't keep my place. And interestingly, I had neighbors, and I go and visit them quite regularly whenever I'm in town. And the first time I went there after being away for months and months, I thought, I wonder how I'm going to feel about this view. I wonder how I'm going to feel about this place.
Yes.
After being away and giving it up, so to speak, right? Yes. And I was totally fine with it. I'm like, yeah, this is great. I love it, you know, but I wouldn't trade what I've had for the past 6 months, you know, to be back here again necessarily, you know?
Exactly.
I think that if I had unlimited funds, I might have considered keeping it, but I wasn't allowed to sublet it, so it would have just sat empty.
Yes.
Basically. So, you know, but I actually, after I had been traveling for 6 months, I had looked at I'd added up all of my travel and, you know, my airfare and all of that kind of stuff. And interestingly, I spent exactly the same amount of money, within a couple of dollars, on that lifestyle, as opposed to living in my ocean view place. Yes. You know, by the time you pay for heat and cable and internet and all of the bells and whistles, it cost me about the same. So
exactly.
But I mean, I had way more fun, and I met a lot of fun people and had great experiences. I spent my birthday last year at the Eiffel Tower. You know, like, these are just things that you don't get to experience if you're just sitting at home all the time, you know? Right. And for me, that was definitely important, was to go out and experience some of these things. And
so tell us more about the course that you're designing. Like, what kinds of things will people take away from from your new training that you're going to put together?
Well, the course is really designed as two different things, basically. One is more of a self-reflection for people to be able to really design their own freedom lifestyle and what they want that to look like. Because, as I mentioned, it's different for everybody. And if you want to travel full time, certainly, you know, that's one option. But really, it's about you designing what you want for your life. And then secondly, it's about how to achieve that. So there'll be lots of information about making money while on the road, like remotely, how to hire people, you know, so you're not working all of the time. Logistics of travel, like where do you get your mail, you know, healthcare, all of those kinds of things, insurance, travel tips, all kinds of things like that. So basically, it is heavily weighted in the travel stuff, because that's what people are interested in quite a bit. Right. But you know, it's all encompassing of of how do you design this lifestyle, and then how do you implement it? How do you actually pull the trigger and get out there and do it? So I think that's, people dream about it, but they have to be able to actually, make those steps and start doing it. Like, go on the website and start, doing the research. See what it would take to rent out your house, if that's what it is. But start doing those things and see what where it leads you to. So, and then, the other thing about this is in my own life, I remember when I told my mom actually has an illness that's not, she won't, be around that long. And so when I told her I was going on the road, I was a bit anxious about what her reaction would be, because, moms are protective.
Yes.
And, she, like, being alone in Mexico and things like that, she would have been a bit worried about that. And so I thought I was going to get an earful about that. And, because my mom is a very conservative person as well. And she's always been more of a stay at home, not travel. She's not that type of person. Yeah. And when I told her what I was going to do, because most people thought I was crazy, my ultra conservative mom said, you know what? Do it. She said, I regret that I've not done the things I wanted to do in my life. And now it's too late. She's on full-time oxygen at home. She rarely leaves her house now because she's
exactly. And I always say, you cannot fix regret. And so isn't that what a beautiful gift she gave you? Not that you needed much of a push, but just that final blessing.
It was a blessing to be able to know that she was okay with it. Yes, she still worries, obviously, but it's, it's a blessing for me to know that she, she's given me that to say, and now both her and my sister watch my travels, and they comment, and they love what I've been doing and whatnot, Yes. So that's really nice. And through, me, they're being able to experience some of that now,
Yes. Wonderful.
So I think that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah. I think, I think the life that you're living and the way you're running your business is so beautiful. And I think there's really no reason why most people couldn't do it at least part-time, right? Yes. So absolutely. If you're going to decide, even if you run an organization, every executive I work with and coach is running their business as they travel, right? Absolutely. On their flight, even on, that's why airplanes have internet, you have Wi-Fi. So, I love that. And so what would you say, because I have my own thoughts around this, because I've traveled extensively, as I say, 71 countries. I think part of everyone's evolution as a human being, I think travel is so important to grow yourself personally. And as a coach, of course, my whole life is around personal development, but the power of travel and the experiences that allows you, especially when you don't stay in the 5-star hotels. Yes. You just can't replace that. There's no value. There's no, money value on that. It's beautiful. So absolutely. What would you say about that?
I totally agree with that. And here's the thing. I have noticed that people who travel with their children, or their children has traveled in some aspect, those children end up being much more well-rounded. Yes. They're better educated in some cases because they've seen the Eiffel Tower and not just read about it in the book or on the internet, and I've really seen the difference in people who've done that, who've their children have traveled. And the other part of that is, I think that if you only stay in your own little area, you're really living in a bubble. Even though we have the internet that connects us globally now, until you actually go and experience things for yourself, you're really only getting that information secondhand. To be able to experience stuff in person, there's just no substitute for that. Yes. I've been working in online marketing, digital marketing for over 20 years. And so I thought I pretty much knew the global stuff and whatnot, but boy, was I ever surprised at some things, Yeah. One of the things that was interesting to me is when I was in Hungary, I was with a group of people, and I at one point had a conflict with another lady. And when it all boiled down and we kissed and made up and everything was great, was that it was our cultural differences. That, you know, I was thinking, wow, she's being really rude right now, because as a Canadian, we're so polite and we say sorry all the time. Yeah, we say sorry about everything.
We're actually not that nice, actually.
And well, this is the way the world perceives us. But I felt she was being incredibly rude. And actually, other people in the group didn't and couldn't believe that I wasn't speaking out about something. And so what I discovered is that you really have to take note of cultural differences and become a citizen of the world, not just of your
global
own
citizen.
Yes.
Global citizen.
And so it taught me a lesson to be able to be aware and conscious of other people's ideals and thoughts and the way that they do things culturally, and not just rely on my own background and the way I've been brought up to ways of thinking. And that's one of the things that I really learned, a big lesson that I learned in traveling. And, you know, the whole freedom lifestyle, like I said, it's not just about the traveling, it's about learning about myself and becoming freer in my thinking. Because sometimes I think sometimes your thinking tends to stay in where you've learned stuff in the past. Whereas by, you know, traveling, one of the things that I've learned is that I've been able to become freer in my thinking. I make decisions quicker now, just because I know things will work out in the long run. So yeah, that's one of the biggest advantages of being. One of the things that I do now, as a matter of fact, when I have to make a decision about anything, whether it's in my personal life or whether it's in my business, I say to myself, I ask myself this question: which way will be able to keep me in my freedom lifestyle? Which option? And that's how I make the decision. So if something is gonna take me backwards into a place where I'm gonna feel stuck or not being able to have an opinion or be able to travel freely or do whatever it is, that's probably not the best option for me.
I love that framework. I love that framework for your decision tree, right? I love that. That's wonderful. And, you know, I hate that we have a short time, but we need to sort of come to a close. And I just really, I know the listeners have enjoyed listening to the journey you've been on, Debbie. And now looking forward to perhaps getting involved in your upcoming course that you'll be launching in the very near future, learning how to live a freedom lifestyle as Debbie does. So with that, Deb, do you mind just giving the listeners where they'd be able to get in touch with you online, including where they'll be able to find your course coming up?
Absolutely. So the best place to go for that would be our group on Facebook called Freedom Navigators. So it's basically facebook.com/groups/Freedom Navigators. And you can also look me up, Debbie Peck, on Facebook as well. And my website is debbiepeckdigital.com. So you can contact me at any of those places, and I'm happy to answer any questions. We post a lot of really great information. I have a partner in my Freedom Navigators group. Her name's Tina, and I actually helped her get on the road and live her freedom lifestyle. And she now lives in Spain. She was living in the UK. She came to Canada and all over the States last year traveling. Now she's back living in Spain for a little while. She actually faces Gibraltar, which is amazing. Her pictures are stunning. And we post all kinds of really great information about not just travel, but all kinds of different freedom-based content. So it's a really great group to join if you're thinking about this lifestyle, not quite ready to jump in with both feet. This will give you a ton of information on how you can get started. And then we'll be releasing details of the course shortly.
Wonderful. Perfect. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Debbie. I really appreciate your time. And before you go, could you tell us or share with us while you're out there on the road, living life, what do you do when you're perhaps maybe not having the best day to reignite yourself?
The best thing for me, if I'm not having, if you're having one of those days, it's a little bit challenging. I tend to go and hide. I go offline. I sit and sulk and whatever. The best thing for me to do is talk to somebody. So whether that means jumping on the phone with a friend or reaching out to a colleague, if I do a coaching call, that totally reignites me. If I ever have doubts about anything that I'm doing, helping somebody else, like usually through a coaching call or something consulting, I do lots of consulting for companies, knowing that I've helped them out. After I get off the call, I'm just juiced up. I'm like, wow, that was awesome. This person loved what I told them, and now they're going to go off and implement their stuff, and it's a great day for them. And so that always ignites me. That always gets me going, is to be able to talk to other people. And that's been the thing, no matter whatever happens. In fact, that's how I met Tina, my counterpart in the Freedom Navigators group. I was in France, and so the time difference, 8-hour time difference to North America, there was a few times when I was getting a little bit lonely, and I'd be kind of sitting there, okay, what should I do now? And I was in a group, and I started chatting with her in this group, and I said, hey, do you want to jump on Zoom? And she said, sure. And I got off that call, and I was just so excited,
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Yep. So that's my tip, is just to talk to people. Just get out there and talk to people. Yeah.
I love that, Debbie. And you know what I love? I think it's more than it's beautiful, because do you know what you're doing in that is that you're first of all reaching out. You're acknowledging that what you're feeling, and then you're reaching out and connecting. As human beings are meant to do, not hide and shut down, but actually reach out. So good for you. That's wonderful. But I also love, when I hear you speak about, I get on a coaching call and I help a client through what they're working on. And so that's really what that would be. I'm listening with my coach's hat, is that's reconnecting to your purpose.
Yes.
Right. And I've never heard anyone give us that as a way to reignite or ignite yourself. And I love that. That's really quite deep, reconnecting with your purpose, reaching out, connecting, giving of yourself, but also reconnecting with what your purpose is, which is to serve others and share your expertise. So love that. Love that. So with that, I will sadly say goodbye to you for now. And thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yes, wonderful. And
for the rest, they'll be all juiced up after this call.
That's right, exactly. And so will everyone else, I hope. So with that, I will say goodbye to everyone for now, and have a great day. And maybe think about who you could reach out to or reconnect with today, and light some sparks, and let's ignite the world together. And we'll speak to you next time. Thank you so much.